Well, first thing I gotta ask is where things end here. So you had told Julie that like you were intending to take Chelsea to the end no matter what. Did that always carry over to your jury vote as well? Was there anything in your mind that was going to deter you from voting for Chelsea at the end, or was that basically locked in the second you walked to sit down next to the jury?
I would like to say that I am an unbiased juror. If Mackenzie's speech did blow me out of the water, I could be swayed, but just through watching the game and being in the house the whole time, Chelsea has just played the most well-rounded game. So it would be hard for Mackenzie to get my vote. But if she blew me out the water with her speech and she convinced me, I would have been unbiased for sure.
So it seemed like you weren't entirely surprised by your eviction, though I'm sure disappointment was registered on your face for many reasons. Talk to me through that sort of like emotional cocktail, because also, I mean, Chelsea won part one, Mackenzie knew had won part two. You knew that you didn't have a chance to win there. So what were your feelings over the course of this week in the house as to whether or not you would be sitting there in the end?
I knew that Mackenzie had a very good relationship with Chelsea, closer than myself and Mackenzie. So I knew if Mackenzie had won part three, she probably would have brought Chelsea to the final two. I hope that my campaigning last year about Chelsea having very good jury management and Chelsea being able to talk would have swayed Mackenzie to pick me in the final two. But once Mackenzie won part three, I kind of knew the inevitable that my game was probably coming to an end. So I was really hoping for Chelsea to win and hopefully pull the loyalty pitch and get Chelsea to bring me to that final two.
Well, let's imagine this perfect world where Mackenzie or Chelsea does bring you
Yep.
to the final two. Talk to me about your chances. Who do you think you would be able to get, and what would your pitch have been in comparison to, your opposition?
I think I would have had probably a much better chance with Mackenzie than Chelsea. The pitch that I would have pulled is purely social game and playing the perception in the house. Coming as an athlete, I used the perception of me being able to win comps to get into a lot of alliances and get a lot of protection. And then once my alliance is blown up, I had the poise to pivot to actually not winning competitions and using that to be a non-threatening opponent and getting all of my opponents out without being a threat to any of them. So that probably would have been my pitch to the jury. And I think it would have been a pretty good one, especially if I pulled the loyalty pitch with having T-Core, Rabina, and Chemo in the jury, as well as being in an alliance with T-Core, Chemo, and Quinn. I would have definitely pulled that card, and hopefully that would have got me three votes, and then whoever got evicted just swayed them with the last speech.
Yeah, so you talk about being set up well early on, and
Mm-hmm.
that all gets smashed to smithereens.
Oh my,
With between
what?
the Cedric eviction and the Brooklyn eviction, and even during the Brooklyn eviction, you get told like, "Hey, if Brooklyn had won AI Arena, you would be gone." So
Yeah.
talk to me about how you pivoted your game. That yes, maybe there was a sort of like undercurrent of loyalty, but how did you change up your own game to try to make sure you were not walking out the door after them?
I definitely switched up the social game for sure. I went way more introverted. I went way more chill, and I went way more for the non-threatening approach, using
Hmm.
the social game and getting close to. Once I won that veto, it really opened up my game. After T Core put me on the block and I won that veto and I won safety for myself, that's when I really went to work socially and getting close to the other people that were on the block, especially Mackenzie at that time, getting very close to Mackenzie, which played a big part in my social game, as well as getting close to Rabina, T Core, and Chemo at that time, who was also in the alliance with Tucker, as well as Joseph and Angela. So I really turned on my social game and I pivoted to the point of me not being a threat, because I would have went home if Brooklyn had won the AI Arena because I was the quote unquote physical threat. So I tried to make myself as non-threatening as possible.
Yeah, let's talk about your relationship with Chelsea. Would you say A1 day one, I think is what you referred to her on
Absolutely.
the way out. I mean, yeah, this is somebody that you were locked in with through those days of the Pentagon, someone that you did want to take to the end. Talk to me about it because there were a couple times when I think you would express to her that you had felt a little ostracized by people like her and MJ and Leah just from a social perspective. So talk to me about navigating that relationship over the course of all 90 days.
Yeah, since Chelsea was probably the first person that I worked with, we had a lot of ups and downs. Like you said, her relationship with Mackenzie and Leah was very concerning with me. And that is why when Mackenzie was HOH, I worked very hard to get Leah evicted, to break up that relationship a little bit. And I tried to get into the division of Chelsea and Mackenzie by trying to weasel my way in that final three. I did get Rabina out when it was the final four, and I thought I weaseled my way enough, but inevitably I got evicted. But the ups and downs with Chelsea, that's just with working with somebody throughout this whole game. It is 90 days. There are ups and downs just emotionally outside of here. So working with people, it is just sometimes difficult. And sometimes we have stress, and that just sometimes makes it difficult to work with. But inevitably, we stayed together throughout this whole process, and we stayed together until day 90.
Mm. So when it comes to your perception, I'm not sure if you're aware of this because again, you had such short time with the jury, but once Angela was evicted, she was really spreading the gospel about how she felt that you were a floater. And there was certainly a lot of conversation among the jury of like, Cam was really great socially, but compared to Mackenzie and Chelsea, it's tough to really measure up. Was this a perception you were aware of? And how were you trying to work against that if that was the case towards the end game?
I think I was very aware of that perception, but if I was to make it to the final two, I would have dispelled that because I would have broken up the two biggest players in the house by using my social game, and that would have been something that I could linchpin on for being a big move for myself. They were the two biggest players in the house. Chelsea and Mackenzie, they have played both the greatest game throughout the house. So being able to weasel my way in between both of them, that is a huge move, and that speaks all to my social game because I did not win any competitions.
Yeah, so how much did you have to adjust your game based? Like, because you talk about sort of like playing possum a little bit after the Brooklyn eviction, but probably aided by the fact that, the competition wins were not necessarily coming to you, which I would imagine, again, from your competitive aspect, is something you were used to. How did
Mm-hmm.
that end up getting incorporated into your game? Because I believe you were also told about this by Mackenzie that she was debating putting you up at the final five because she was that angry about you losing these competitions and feeling you were actually throwing them.
Yeah, I think that I played it very well to my advantage. I definitely wanted to win a bunch of those competitions, and when I lost, I just was like, okay, how can I flip it to a positive spin? That is by having targets up that benefited my game, even if I didn't win. So the reason why Mackenzie didn't put me up was because uh, Chemo and Rabina were both on the block. They were a trio.
Hmm.
So then she wanted to break up the trio. So it would have not been a smart decision for her to keep either Chemo or Rabina and me get evicted at the final five. So I made sure that all my targets were in front of me and literally the last possible option, and that would be the final three. And that is inevitably what happened. I didn't see my plan all the way through, but playing possum did play to my advantage.
Last thing I want to bring up is like, I don't know if you know this, man. Big Brother has a pretty virulent online community, and you took it by storm a couple times. I mean, first off, shout out to my dogs at the crib, like, absolutely took off. There's another one where, and whether this was again the playing possum or just like you in general, of you just being so unbothered, where they just take your cast picture and they just post it of like, this is, Cam winning the lottery versus Cam, getting gum on his shoe. And it's the exact same photo. It is your cast photo. So, I mean, the world is going to be open to you. You're going to be seeing all this. But what's your initial reaction to this? Because I would imagine in the house, you're not primarily concentrating on the way people are looking at you outside of all of this. But for what it's worth, I think a lot of people really saw you for what you were, memes and all, and really enjoyed what you brought to the season.
I'm hyped. Literally, hear you say that, I'm excited because I just wanted to make an impact. The Big Brother community is a community that rides so hard for the Big Brother players, and I love that so much. So I'm glad that I can make an impact. And also, the Zen approach was the approach that I wanted to come into in the house in general. I wanted to be very poised. Poised. Goodness gracious, I wanted to be very poised. And Angela coming in, blowing up. Tucker coming in, blowing up throughout the house, Quinn having blow ups, everybody blowing up throughout the house. I wanted to be a peaceful presence, and that's why I leaded guided meditations for people in the house because I wanted to be peace.
I wish that this was, the most ideal outcome with you walking out of here $750,000 richer, but it seems like you are in, true to that Zen state, a good emotional headspace, considering you were just locked in a studio space for 90 days. So I'm sure you have so much to really, wrap your head around. But I'm grateful that you at least had some time today to chat with me about this game and how much, again, we really just enjoy watching you as a person. Man, you got a great head on your shoulders, and I can't wait to see you take on the world, Cam.
And I thank you so much. I am so excited to talk to you. I was stuck in the house for 90 days, so you don't know how much I love this interview. Uh,
Ah, dude, the pleasure was all mine. Well, I wish you and the dogs nothing but the best and your family as well. And looking forward to seeing what happens next, man. You have a good one.
Thank you. Shout out to dogs at the crib.
There we go. One for the road. Have a good one, Cam.
All right, peace.